So I started Gintama about 3 months ago, and this video I made right here was when I was about 50 episodes in. So now being 135 episodes in, I want to talk to you guys about what I think of the show as a whole and if Gintama is really worth starting. And I'll tell you the honest truth right now, it was really hard for me to get into the show. And this wasn't because it was bad, it was simply because Gintama is one of those shows where you have to go in with an open mind and you have to expect change. You really have to know what you're getting into. Because if I was to say Gintama is like your average shonen, I'd be wrong. Gintama is vastly different from other shows. So when I first started it, I honestly wasn't sure. The first 20 or so episodes I thoroughly enjoyed and I thought they were good, but by no means did I think they were great. And this is by no means saying that the beginning of the show is bad. Like, there were some episodes that I actually really enjoyed, especially that episode where we see Otsu's dad and he breaks out of jail to see Otsu sing. Like, honestly, that episode just came out of nowhere. It was actually pretty emotional. And that's the thing about Gintama. I don't know how, but it will go from being the most goofy show you've ever seen to just suddenly having such an emotional, heartfelt moment. And it's not just your average moments. They actually make you feel for the characters. So that's one thing about Gintama that I really appreciate, because they honestly write a lot of these emotional moments better than these new gen shonen. And what's crazy is that this anime is literally about comedy. I don't know how they keep getting away with making me feel emotional, but it certainly worked every time. But at this point in the show, I still wasn't what you would call hooked. But after those 20 episodes, I started getting more and more connected and hooked to the characters. And this is what I'm saying about Gintama. You gotta be patient when you start it. And as long as you look at it with an open perspective, trust me, all of your patience will heavily pay off. And then around the episode 50 mark, this is where I really started getting hooked to the show. Because first of all, we had a great stretch of episodes around Gintoki and his supposedly son. Those were some of my favorite episodes of the whole series. But then even better, we finally enter Gintama's first serious arc, the Benizakura arc. And if you're watching this for the first time, I definitely recommend that you watch the movie version of this arc. And shout out to my friend Ank for giving me a guide on how to watch Gintama and if I should watch the movies or not. And once he gets a mic, he's gonna start making Gintama videos. So check out his channel, I'll put it in the description. So thanks, bro. Now moving on, this movie improved the animation, it's paced better, and it's just an overall better experience to this arc. And boy, when I say this, it's gonna sound crazy, but I think this might have been my favorite anime movie that I've ever watched. And I definitely haven't watched my fair share of anime movies, but like, I really didn't think this would be Dragon Ball Super Broly, Naruto The Last, One Piece Film Red. But all I know is that out of all the movies that I've watched, I was the most invested and hooked in this story. I don't know what it was about this movie, but I was so invested. And I don't know if it was because I was just waiting for Gintama to get serious, so if the build up for the arc made it better, but this shit was just so good to me. And this is where everything about the show and my whole perspective on it changed, because immediately we start off with Gintoki as a kid, and he's in a classroom with Katsura and Takasugi, and this is something that I've been wanting for so long. I just want to know everything about Gin's backstory. I want to know everything about him fighting in the war. I want to know his whole relationship with Takasugi. I want to know everything about his teacher, and this is the most intriguing thing to me in Gintama, because people say Gintoki is like a guts level character, so I just want to learn everything about him. I also want to learn everything about Katsura and his full relationship with Gintoki, and I need to know Takasugi's ambitions and the full reason behind why he turned evil. And I know part of it is because their teacher died, but I still feel like there's something else I'm missing. I just need to know everything. And seeing this movie for the first time and seeing how I was getting everything I wanted at the beginning, I just knew I was gonna be in for a fun ride. Now moving on to the actual plot of the movie, we start off with a banger scene with Katsura, and he's fighting the guy that Gintoki fought in the baby rescue mission, the butler, and he has a sword called Benizakura, and Katsura gets one shot, and we see Takasugi resurrect his troop that he led in the expulsion war. And the strongest ones here definitely look like the butler and then also the bonsai guy. But the one I'm definitely interested in the most besides Takasugi is Bonsai, and this is mostly because we do get more of him in a future arc, which will be in another video, which by the way I liked more than the Benizakura arc. And so Elizabeth comes over to Odd Jobs trying to search for Katsura, and then Gintoki goes over and meets these two swordsmiths, Tetsuya and Tetsuko, and we learn that this dude's father made Benizakura, and he wants Gintoki to find the sword. And apparently everyone who wields Benizakura ends up dying. So this is like a cursed sword. And it low-key reminded me about Zoro. And then later at night, Shinpachi and Elizabeth run into the serial killer Nizo. But then Gintoki comes in and saves the day. And this guy Nizo's like, oh yeah, I killed Katsura. But Gintoki doesn't believe him. He's like, Katsura would never be killed by someone like you. But then this guy pulls out his top knot and he starts disrespecting Zoro. Gintoki still doesn't believe him, however. And obviously I knew Katsura wasn't fucking dead. And I also just really love the mysterious setting of this movie. I love the fact that it's actually night out. Just made things way more intense for me. I also love the fact that Kagura's just on her own little mission, because usually the main cast just sticks together. So I just liked how Kagura was doing her own thing in her own investigation. And then seeing Gin get bodied by Benizakura, it's just a monster. It's just a living thing. And bro, I'm just wondering, how did you create this sword? Like, this is some Mayuri type shit. How can a regular human create a sword like this that can literally be alive? I don't get it. And he gets beat the hell up. Like, it was so bad. He didn't even stand a chance. His sword got broken. He got stabbed right through the chest. But my boy Shinpachi is tired of waiting and he goes down and he cuts this dude's arm off. Like, I actually don't think y'all know how happy I was at this moment, because I was kind of getting bored with Shinpachi, I'll be honest. He did kind of seem like a bland, generic character, and I was scared he was gonna fall into a rabbit hole of characters who are just forgotten and who don't get any real development or don't get any real moments. So I was actually so happy to see him get a moment like this, because this is actually huge. I just don't want him to fall into the trope of characters who are rendered useless. So big W's for Shinpachi, man. And I also love the fact that even though he's a kid and he seems so innocent, if his friend's life is on the line, he will not be scared to kill. He didn't hesitate at all. And I love that, because I could honestly compare him to Krillin sometimes. Krillin was the strongest human in the Dragon Ball verse, but compared to his friends, he seems like nothing. And it's a similar case here. Shinpachi is actually one of the strongest humans in this verse. Whether you like it or not, his family owns a dojo. He's been trained with sword skill, but it just seems a little lackluster because you compare him to Kagura, who's part of the Yato clan, and she has superhuman strength. And then you also compare him to Gin, who may be the strongest swordsman of all time and was feared as the white demon. So I just feel like we sleep on Shinpachi sometimes, and to see his true strength come out like this, I was really happy to see that, you know. And I also just love the trust that Gin has in Shinpachi. I always loved how Gin was kind of like a dad to him, and he always trusts him no matter what. And yo, Kagura pulls up right behind Takasugi and she starts boxing everybody. And this crazy, bro, she gets shot and then she gets right back up, but then she gets shot in the head, and yeah. And then we get more Gintoki backstory and we see his teacher more, and it says, you use the sword only out of your fear of others, put it down. And his teacher explains how using your sword is to protect your soul, not to attack others. And we see more of Gintoki in the war, and then he wakes up. So again, I'm just left having a lot of questions, and I still don't even know his teacher's name. I assume he's probably dead, and I just need to see how the story plays out. And so we see that Gintoki's in care of Ote, and the girl swordsmith who Gintoki met before shows up and asks to see Gin, and she explains that Benizakura is actually a living sword and that her brother is actually the one who made it, and it seems like he's working with Takasugi. And so now she wants Gintoki to go and save his brother and stop them so that Edo won't be destroyed. But if I'm Gintoki, I'm not doing this shit. I mean, she literally knew all along that her brother was behind all this, and they just used Gintoki, and he almost died in the process. So if that's me, bruh, I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to figure it out. And I'm gonna be completely honest, this is one part of the movie I just did not care about. I didn't care about the brother or the sister or their backstory. I'm sorry. If you're gonna put me in a near-death situation and then ask me to help you, I can't. I don't care what your backstory is, I'm not doing it. Yo, and Gintoki does exactly that. He just says shut up and just tells her to go home. And then there's also this dude saying some really questionable stuff, saying that Kagura is gonna blossom in another 2 or 3 years. Yeah, we need to get rid of this guy quickly. Yo, they literally call him a lolicon. And then one thing that was really interesting to me that we learned about was that the Yato clan actually attacked Takasugi. So that's another thing I'm wondering about now. I want to see when that happened, how it went down, because if Kagura's dad got in this, I want to see if he fought Takasugi, because he's actually really strong. Elizabeth gives Shinpachi an opening, and bro, I need to know who Elizabeth is. Who is under that costume, bro? I need to know. Katsura keeps saying it's a girl, so is this gonna be like Yoruichi or what? I also really love how they're expanding on Gintoki and Ote's relationship. We really see how Ote admires Gin and how she recognizes that Shinpachi and Kagura need him and that they'd be lost without him. So it's almost like those two are the parents of the group. And I also really love the scene where Ote left her umbrella for Gin, and Shinpachi's like, this is my favorite umbrella, please bring it back. And she already knew that Gintoki was going to go and try and save Kagura and Shinpachi. I'm really happy Ote got this kind of scene, because I'm gonna be honest, at this point in the story, I think I was getting a bit annoyed at her, especially after that one episode where she just kept ripping dudes off and making them buy her drinks for her store. She was starting to annoy me a bit, but this scene got me to like her character again, so I am happy that she got this. And that's another thing about Gintama, there are actually no characters that I dislike. You know, in the other animes that I watched, there's at least one character that really pisses me off, but I don't really have a character like that in Gintama. And I think it's because of the fact that the main cast knows each other so well. They know everyone's mindset and they know what they're gonna do, so there's no point in hiding anything from each other, and I just think they connect with each other really well, so I don't really have a lot of room to dislike a character. And so everyone's with war at each other because they want revenge for Katsura, and Shinpachi ends up saving Kagura. And then we get a really cool scene with Takasugi and Nizo. Takasugi's talking to Nizo, and it looks like Benizakura has fused with his arm and it grew him a new one, and Nizo makes the big mistake of calling Takasugi and Gintoki and Katsura comrades, and so Takasugi just crashes out and attempts to kill Nizo. And if it wasn't for Benizakura's new arm, he probably would have died there. And even Nizo's like, wow, he really meant to kill me. And Takasugi's like, don't ever call us comrades, our bond is much stronger than that. So now I wonder what the hell this means, and I'm just fucking getting edged by this backstory, bro. I need to see this shit. Nizo cuts a fucking ship down, which is insane, and Elizabeth comes to save Shinpachi and Kagura, but then Takasugi appears right behind them and fucking slices Elizabeth. But then plot twist, we learn that it's actually Katsura. So he's back with a new haircut, and then Kagura and Shinpachi just crash out on him, understandably, because they've been trying to search for him this whole time, and then he was right there. And Gintoki finally arrives, and as they call him, the stupidest samurai in the universe, and he gets his rematch with Nizo. And this dude Nizo sold his soul to Benizakura. The sword's just too powerful for his body, so he's gonna die after he uses it for a little more. And Takasugi knew all this, and Katsura is just trying to convince him to come back to the good side, but it's not working. And Gintoki shows us why he's the white demon, and he actually starts surpassing Benizakura, but not until the sword goes fully out of control and it completely takes over Nizo. So now he's just a full-on monster, and Gintoki gets fucked up, and the brother finally dies after realizing what he's been doing all this time. And yeah, as I said earlier, his backstory didn't move me a bit. I'm sorry, he's just a fucking idiot. And then Gintoki comes in with the talk no jutsu and fucking slices Benizakura and wins the fight. This dude Gintoki will be the dumbest character, but when you push him, he'll come out with the most spiritual and motivational sentence ever. It's actually crazy. And honestly, I forgot Takasugi was still here, but we learned more about his motivation, and apparently this dude has always been plotting from a young age. He's always had the same goal, and he says that Gintoki and Katsura have taken up their sword to protect the country and their comrades, and we finally learn what its breaking point was. It was their master dying, Master Shoyo. So it looks like Takasugi had a very special bond with Master Shoyo, and he wants to declare war on the world that took their master from him. And Katsura says something that is probably my favorite piece of info in this whole movie. He says that he also hates the world that took away his master, and he wants to destroy it, but he has to keep living on because he keeps living. And by he means Gintoki. And he says that Gintoki is the one who should hate the world the most, but he keeps living on and protecting it. And this hit me hard, man. I just want to know so much more about Gintoki. I love him so much, and this backstory, whatever he has, it has potential to honestly put him in my top character list. He's already up there, but I just need to know what happened. This just got so good. And Takasugi just hates that Gintoki keeps living in the world that took away their master. And then the Harusame space pirates pull up and Takasugi leaves with them, and Gintoki and Katsura fight the remaining soldiers and they escape, and that is where the movie ends. And man, this was just such a good movie. I just really love the connection to Gintoki's backstory and all the info we got. I fucking love Takasugi. He has potential to be one of my favorite villains, and the main thing I want to see is where it goes from here. What's crazy is that I feel like this is just the basis for the future, and if the little info we got was so good, I just can't wait to see how I'm gonna react to everything. So that's all I wanted to yap about. Amazing fucking movie, probably my favorite, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.